Welcome back, Soccerholics Community, to the sub-series Xtra Time called The Goals of Our Lives, a soap opera drama about landmark moments in our experience of the beautiful game that are truly unforgettable. I am joined here by three Newcastle faithful, Ben, Rory, and Colin. Thank you guys so much for being so patient with technology because it can cause so much trouble sometimes. But more importantly, guys, tell us about Newcastle. We need to know. It's been long overdue.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about sort of our history here as a group. So Rory founded the group many years ago with Colin as well. I joined back in 2015, where I met these guys at one of the local bars in Toronto, the Office Pub. We had a small situation going on there where it was basically a small TV in the corner of a room. Not much sound and people eating their breakfast that weren't soccer fans next to us. We finally found our first proper home, which was Scallywags, which we shared with the Liverpool fans. We were there for approximately a year and a half, thereabouts, maybe just over. Yeah. And then we finally found our very first home of our own, which was the Peacock Pub on College Street. Unfortunately, the Peacock is no longer around now. And we moved recently to a place called 817 Sports Bar and Grill at 817 Queen Street West. The numbers have been fantastic. We've grown from when I joined to from about on average about 8 people to on average now I would say about 28 to 35 people, sometimes peaking above 50. Which was certainly helped by Sean Longstaff, one of the Newcastle players, coming and watching a game with us and giving us that extra exposure. So there's a little bit about sort of where we're at today.
Well said. Colin, Roy, do you have anything else to add to the history? Have we maybe met before, or were there any big moments that you guys enjoyed when you guys all got together to start this in Toronto?
I guess, well, from my side, I think I was the 5th or 6th or something member on Facebook when Rory joined it. It started the group rather, and like I said, it's just grown exponentially. Back then, we were the first time going to Scallywags and really were kind of put into a corner with like 3 or 4 of us watching the games there. So had some good times. We saw that Cisse goal against Chelsea there and stuff like that. So it's been interesting to see us grow from strength to strength. And I think one of the things I love most about it is it's a real mix between, look, you've got people like myself who's from Newcastle, who's moved to Canada, who are getting together and watching games. You've got people like Rory who are Canadian and grown up supporting Newcastle from here. You've got people from loads of different other countries in the world, different backgrounds who support Newcastle for a variety of reasons. It could be family trees go back to Newcastle. It could be FIFA, sort of, I don't know, just look at the draw that they played with Newcastle and fell in love with them. Some of it's just from liking certain players or watching a certain game or the colours or anything like that. So it's a real kind of mix of ages, men, women, boys, girls, all sorts of different backgrounds there. So it's a real fun crowd as well.
All right, Rory, come on, man. You got to add something at least, man. Remember that one time we met?
The guys covered it pretty much, I think. I think they nailed it. I guess we've been to a few spots before we finally landed on 817, which we love. Ben mentioned the Peacock and the Office, and we've obviously talked about Scallywags, the home of many of our football fans in Toronto, obviously. But we were at the Derby once upon a time, a little bar on the Dundas West, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's been times we've had to watch in Colin's condo, and sometimes the games weren't shown, so we had to go to somebody's house and stream it. So there's been a few ones out there.
Well, honestly, you guys sound like true journeymen is what I should be trying to say properly, but you guys are actually living, breathing journeymen to go from bars to houses, to go find the streams, to now back to hopefully maybe even back to Champions League if everything goes correctly, in the next coming months.
Inshallah.
I'm saying my prayers for you guys because, a more competitive Premier League is always a better Premier League because, sometimes it does get boring when it's repetitive with the same teams winning. So it's good to have, Newcastle back up there because, it was a bit unfortunate when they did go down to the championship. But I'm a big fan of Rafa.
Do you think we might win our first Champions League before Arsenal does?
Well, that is for what the future will hold. I don't know what that is because I'm living in the present right now, learning about Newcastle history from you
We can only
guys.
speculate, right, Chris? We can only speculate.
We can only speculate, but first you guys have to confirm and sign the paper, as they say, or as Theo says, sign the thing. So, but more or less, guys, I need to know that you guys sound like you guys have definitely bonded over the journey of watching different types of Newcastle games. And, we all watch football and we're missing it right now. And the one thing that we miss the most are the goals. Are there any goals that, like, during those moments that you guys had together that, like, resonate with you guys that stood out, maybe because of those locations that you guys watched the game?
Good question. Yeah, so I guess for me, I think this was a little bit before their time, but before I met these guys. But for me, again, it's going back to the Papa Cisse goal. For me, that was just a standout one that stuck to my mind year after year. And I think the anniversary of that came up recently, I think I saw on social media. And by the Papa Cisse goal, it was against Chelsea, outside of the foot from the left of the field. The ball swooped straight over the keeper into the top right bins from the left-hand side of the field. So sort of off question there, that was probably one of my highlight goals.
Oh, not too bad. Colin, Rory, you got any other goals that you guys want to add to this gallery of fantastic moments for Newcastle?
I'll let Colin name his favorite Andy Carroll penalty first. Go ahead.
No, I would say it's funny. I don't want to make it like pick on Chelsea moment, but I think to go like the other end of the scale, one of our more recent ones, it was actually the Peacock had let us know the pub was closing down. So it was our last weekend at the Peacock, playing Chelsea at home. We'd barely seen any of the ball. I think we were down to like 20% possession at one point. Last second, ball gets put out to our left wing. St. Maximin gets onto his right foot, puts a deep cross in. Isaac Hayden, by hook or by crook, seems to either face it or shoulder it into the bottom corner. And it was like we had a huge turnout that day. There was probably about 60 of us in the pub, all crammed together, loads of new faces. And literally the place went up. Like there was pint glasses in the air. There was beer everywhere raining down on us. There was people jumping up on the bar itself, doing dances. It was a real total. I mean, the previous 90 minutes before that had been pretty dreadful to watch, but that moment alone and that celebration, like, took us about 20 minutes to get kind of the wind back into my lungs because I jumped around and celebrated that long. So that was certainly like a recent, I guess, like crazy highlight for me.
Oh, that's incredible. Honestly, I remember that game just like, whenever you're getting like your little text updates, you're just checking the scores because, I'm a little bit of a fantasy Premier League player myself. So, I think I had Fabian Schär, if I pronounce his name correctly. I had him sitting back on my defensive line, and I remember I checked the stats. I'm like, oh shoot, I have a clean sheet, and then I checked the score. I'm like, oh, Newcastle won 2-0 that day. I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. I like this. So it's a nice late drama, to be honest. But Rory, do you have maybe another goal to maybe top those previous two, or?
Those are two good ones. I love both of those. First one Ben said was in Scallywags. Second one Colin said was in Peacock. One I would add is the Ben Arfa one versus Bolton.
Okay.
He picks it up in his own half, and he just like does a delightful turn to skin the first defender, and he just keeps skinning defender after defender until he just slots it home past the keeper. That's just a beautiful solo effort. And then another one I like, Czech Tiote.
Yeah.
I mentioned this one to you before, I think, Chris. We were down 4-0, and I was the only Newcastle fan in Scallywags that day with the old T-Dot Gooners, and they were giving it the big ones, at halftime up 4-0, and as they should be. And we came back somehow, I don't know how, and Czech Tiote just drills it. Rest in peace, by the way, Czech Tiote. And just drills it home and ties it up. Unbelievable scenes that day.
I actually rewatched that goal recently, and I actually did do my research for you guys because the Premier League released squad goal videos. It was 26 minutes long, and I
Oh, yeah.
caught probably about 3 minutes worth of Newcastle goals versus Arsenal, and it's like I don't know why Newcastle has this affiliation of scoring a lot of goals against Arsenal, but it is. But I just remember that. And Quixote's his celebration was nice too because he did a knee slide and then he just kind of collapsed and fell like that afterwards. I'm just like,
And the
I
goalkeeper,
remember
people's
that was
elbows.
Chesney. It's just too much.
You
Bring
know what
back
I
bad
always
memories, guys. Come on.
Do you know what I always find as well? I always find that when we see goal of the season or goal of the month, it's always against Newcastle. Or the majority of the times, you always see the black and white shirt, and you're like, "Oh, it's us again." I always pick up on that.
No, fair enough. I think Colin had a good comment on that fluke goal that I think Dennis Bergkamp scored. I think those were your words.
Exactly.
Find
Yeah,
the
I was gonna
difference.
say that
it was
fluke, Dennis
fluke.
Bergkamp. You guys have got your own ones against us.
He miscontrolled it and then just reacted well to the miscontrol. That's what we say.
Hey! But like that's the job of the striker at the end of the day. Like I've seen a couple of those goals when I was watching some of the highlights. Some were some great volleys, and some were from like out of this world, from like Obi-Fana Martins. You know, like some of the great strikers you guys used to have. Andy Carroll made his name in there as well. You guys have had a lot of good strikers. Or were there any strikers that you guys have enjoyed recently, like that have joined Newcastle?
Mitrovic.
Well, Mitrovic was a bit of a cult hero of ours, wasn't he, Rory?
Yeah. Like he wasn't always very good, but he was always trying very hard.
I think
Okay.
as well, it's one of the ones that I think I was disappointed we let go. I think he was very young, very petulant. But he seems to have sorted his disciplinary record out.
Benitez as well.
No, he didn't. I think Rafa didn't like the sort of red cards and things that he would get. And maybe not even the work. I don't know if he worked hard enough for Rafa Benitez, but he looks like he's really sorted his game out at Fulham. I think he's almost got 30 goals this season for Fulham in all competitions. Lord knows I'd swap him for Joe Linton right now.
Hey. You just need good wingers on both sides. We went over this before in person.
But I think if I could have one in our team, I think I'd take Mitrovic back if I could.
I'm not going to complain on that one. I've seen him. He's one of the best target men I think the Premier League's seen in a very long time. And I'm actually kind of shocked, and I kind of wish Newcastle weren't so, lack of ambition sometimes with like keeping some players that you guys loan in and making them a permanent signing and such.
I think the other big one, I mean, I guess it's not so much recent anymore. I'm probably showing my age a little bit, but obviously Shearer, just for me growing up, and like it was my whole, I guess like youth was like seeing Shearer just score goals, and you could guarantee probably like 20 goals a season every season for 15 years, 20 years, whenever he played, was incredible. And like some of the goals, they're like just unbelievable stuff. Like the one that springs to mind that actually is a little bit underreported. You always show the Everton goal that he volleyed in the top corner. But there was a goal he scored against Aston Villa where it was a lovely ball from Rob Lee to sort of like the right-hand side of the penalty box, and Shearer had like broken the offside trap. And rather than take a touch and bring it down, he just calmly side foot volleyed it right into like the far top corner, and Schmeichel was in goal for Villa and just sort of stood there and looked and just thought like, oh, like I'm not getting any of that. And Shearer just stood there in front of the Gallagher end and just like had his hands up like, that's how good I am. So I think that was one that that always I think gets a bit underreported. And I was going to bring it up before, but one of the other underreported ones, Ben, is that the game where Cisse scored that amazing sort of banana shot goal, his goal in the first half was, I thought, really, really good as well. But because he scored an even better one that game, nobody ever brings it up. But it was like a scissor kick or something from like the edge of the area. And it just never, ever gets like the light of day because it was a better one in that game.
I agree. I always forget about that. It was first half, right, for that one. I always forget about that. Another top performer of us, be it that it was in the Championship, Dwight Gale scored some great goals, one-on-one with the keeper, was very calm and composed. Him and Mitro were very, I don't know, from what I remember, I feel like they were very similar in style of attack. They were very confident moving forward in the Championship, and I think for both of them, they really suit that level really well. Dwight Gale obviously has been a proven goal scorer in the Premier League before for Palace. Mitro has scored, what was it, in his first season for us, he scored 12 to 14 goals for us.
Really good return, honestly.
It was just it was very hard to see that he just couldn't fit into the plans at the time. He's been on all cylinders again since he moved back to Fulham, since he went to Fulham even.
I think the one with Gale was the relationship Gail had with Shelby, like John Joe Shelby just seems to like, I don't know, he would just kick the ball, pick his head up, and then just like wonder pass, play him through. And Gail would know where the ball was going to go. He'd make the runs. It was, I guess, like for any of the sort of older viewers, it was a bit like Beardsley and Cole, where Beardsley would just find Andy Cole every time. Shelby was a bit like that with Gail, but from further away. Shelby would find him from anywhere. It was amazing to see them. And in the championship, they were probably the two best players in the league. So it really just made a huge difference.
Okay. No, honestly, I
I
think
love John Joe Shelby, Chris. Cannot say enough good things about John.
I could say some bad things about him when he was playing for Liverpool, but I'm kind of glad that he went to
Yeah,
Newcastle.
okay, there's a couple things you could say, but
Yeah,
other
yeah,
than
yeah.
that,
That he
other
played for
than
Liverpool.
that,
We'll
a
just-
couple racism incidents that I love him.
Yeah, fair enough. No, honestly, I think he's a talented player on his day, like any other players. And it's tough. Like, I've been watching The Last Dance, for instance, like everybody else has been doing the Starve for like sports. And it's incredible just to see like how much effort it takes to be a professional athlete at the top level or be the best of the best. So like, I just wonder if like, I know we as fans, we like have a habit of calling players like, crap or shit or, like the standard, but we have to remember this is the 1% that makes it to the very top. So like they will run circles around us if they come down to play local, Sunday league, not to say that we won't throw a couple elbows in there, but you know how it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Quick question though. I remember one player, I think he has a brother on the team, Longstaff. Which Longstaff's the better Longstaff guy for you guys? I know it's a random question, but
Ooh.
I was curious about this.
Yeah,
It used to be Sean, but Maddie's come on.
that's the thing. So I feel like Sean had that 6 months where there was by the end of the season interest by Man United. I think there's reports of up to 40 million, 25 to 40 million. I can't remember of them being interested in him. He was fantastic under Rafa Benitez, which shows the difference in quality of manager that Rafa was.
Yeah.
He got the best out of some of the players that we've not seen since. Matty Longstaff kind of didn't really get that opportunity during the Rafa era as much. But I think after him scoring that wonder goal that got him goal of the month against Man United, where it was passed across from St. Maximum, and then he scored it and kept it low and hard into the left-hand side of the goal, I believe, at Old Trafford. That gave him some confidence. He scored his first Premier League goal. He knew it was possible to put that ball in the back of the net, and he's come on a lot in that time. I find it interesting as well, not to go into too much detail, but I find it interesting as well how people are still currently rating Sean Longstaff over Matty Longstaff. I think on current performance, until obviously COVID-19, I feel that Matty gave me a lot more confidence on the ball than Sean did at the time. So that's my pick.
I agree, but I think so. Sean Longstaff, when he actually came to visit us, a great guy. His dad was a great guy. He was able to visit because he was injured, and it was really frustrating because he'd been playing incredibly well up until then, and I think that delayed all of his like off-season work, and it messed all that up. And I think not only that, I do think, look, it's competitive, like you were saying there. Only the best sort of make it at the Premier League, and Sean getting the team last season put Isaac Hayden on alert, and Isaac Hayden has worked very, very hard and had a very, very good season, I think, in my eyes. So it's been extra competition for Sean to just get his place back. Really, it's not been automatic that he does that. Same as Shelby. I think Shelby's our top scorer this season. So, well, certainly in the league, I think. So he's upped his game as well. So they're all competing with each other, which is limited opportunities, I would say. The difference between Sean is a little bit older than Matty. Sean's also a bit taller. So you'd say for a centre midfielder, you kind of want to have that range, win headers, get back, cover yards. I think the two of them could play very well together, hopefully. I think Matty seems to have a little bit more maybe of an eye for goal. Like Ben was saying, he scored twice against Man U this season, once at home, once away. And I think even some of the other shots where he didn't score look like he knows where the goal is. So I think he looks good. Sean Longstaff did have a very good game in the Cup. I know it was against League One opposition, I think it was. Scored a very good goal there. So the hope was that Sean was gradually going to get some of that rustiness off him and get back to normal. But it's just been hard for him to get game time because I think, as Ben said, Steve Bruce had kind of had his team set, and that was kind of Hayden and Shelby seemed to be first choice. And honestly, I would say, judging by the season, it was deserved that those two started. So it's it'd be interesting. Hopefully, they've used this break to get in shape. I did see Willems, the right back that the left back that we had on
But he
loan.
was great.
He had an interview this week, and they said who was the most talented player at NUFC, and he said Matty Longstaff out of everybody. So, which was quite surprising when you think we've got players like Almiron and St. Maximum and some of these other ones that he went with Matty Longstaff. So maybe as well. Shaw, you said before, he's pretty talented as well. So.
Oh yeah, he's a gem. One of the most underrated center backs for me. Just personal favorite. Learned about him through FIFA. Knew when he was playing for FC Basel back then.
What do you think of Florian Lejeune, Chris?
He's streaky for me. That's my thing. He's streaky.
Mm-hmm. He's a bit slow as well.
He's had injury issues as well, I think.
What you need to be a successful player, obviously I'm not Premier League, professional, former professional, but what I just find is just like whenever you're rebuilding a team, which I'm going to say Newcastle's rebuilding a team to make like a credible push to whatever that
dynasty.
is, Europe. Yes. No, the dynasty. Remember, weren't you guys back in Champions League like long ago? Like way long ago, like a decade
Yes,
ago?
that's what I had my season tickets. So
it's
Bobby
like
Robson
Star Wars. There's been a little gap in time, but now they're back. We're back.
Pardew had us in the Europa at one point.
And how was that run actually? Because I know I'm bouncing around here. Don't get me wrong. I'll get back to your question, Roy. But like, how was that?
Let's keep bouncing. I like it. It's organic. It's good.
That's the point. Is like that's how I see sports. Like like your team's on top. Like Arsenal used to be back up on top like a decade or two ago. Now they're going through their third, fourth rebuild, and hopefully this one will work out. That's what I keep telling people. Like it's not rocket science. I'm not expecting Arsenal to win this season, not even next season. It's the season after that, 2 seasons. When I look at the top teams, you look at Liverpool, you look at City. You look at even Spurs. Spurs still have a good side that can probably keep up there. And then the teams I have to compete against is, Newcastle if the takeover is successful. If it is, congratulations on this video. If not, I'm sorry again. But Chelsea, and then you look at United and, Leicester, maybe even Everton gets their shit together. Wolves, the Premier League's competitive, man. It's looking like FIFA, like in like year 10 of your career mode, where like half the teams are owned by billionaires and the other half are just like, we're just here to make up the numbers. But yeah, as I was saying before, I went on a tangent about FIFA. Europe. Do you guys have any like good European moments, any good European nights for Newcastle?
I'll start because I had a lot of my season ticket back then when we were in the Champions League kind of regularly. So there was like some good ones at home, and honestly, just that experience of St. James's Park, full, the Champions League music, like all of that was just like incredible. But actually, more than that, I thought it was like holding our own. There was the first time we got in there, we lost the first 3 games of the group stage, and everyone was like, Newcastle bottled it. They're not at that level. And then we actually did enough the next 3 games to get through to the next stage. So we that was incredible. But like we did beat Juventus at home 1-0 when I had my season ticket. Andy Griffin or Buffon on goal, depending on where you ask. So that was pretty amazing. I did actually go to the San Siro to watch Newcastle play Inter Milan, and that was 2-2. So that was just an incredible trip. There was about 20,000 Newcastle supporters when we should only had 10,000, just all crammed in together. So that was amazing. And I think I'm not sure if it was. I think it was Champions League where we scored. We had to get a goal late on to draw with Feyenoord. And we were losing, and then Bellamy scored in the last second from like a rebound from a save, and that was like a highlight as well. I think the only other, I guess, the downside for me is the Europa League campaigns we had. There was a couple opportunities we could have gone on to at least get the final. We lost to Marseille one year, and we just literally did not turn up, and we were a better team than them, and that was kind of frustrating. Then you never know what's going to happen in the final. So that was a little bit of a kind of negative on that one, but it was just just amazing times, and really just great to see some of the names that we played against, even if you weren't there. Just watch on TV to say like Nedved playing against Newcastle at St. James's Park, stuff like that was amazing.
Magical. Ben, Rory, got anything to add to those magical moments, or
great question. So for me, I was trying to think about a magical moment, and it's kind of a bit slightly different. So like my first ever Newcastle game I went to was when my dad bought me a ticket for my birthday, and we actually went to what was called the Intertoto Cup, and it was at Newcastle.
Yeah.
It was around, I do remember quite well actually. So it was around the time that the same season that they were filming the movie Girl. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what year it was. But that to me was probably one of my best memories. I think we went on to win that game, but I remember being as close as I've ever been to Alan Shearer other than seeing him on the TV. So for me, I've still got a fond memory of that, although I can't remember the result right now. That to me was my first game at Newcastle, and yeah, to me that's probably one of my favourite moments.
That's as close to home as you're gonna get. I don't think
Exactly.
unless Rory can beat you with this one, but I doubt he can. Rory, can you beat that?
Not in terms of distance, but in terms of drama and just suspense. Our massive fixture a few years ago against Anzi Machkalachkalachkala was where were we at the Queen not Queen and Beaver, the dog, not the Dog's Bollocks.
Dog
What was
and
it
Bear?
called? Dog and Bear, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, there's that one. Honestly, there's not many for me. Like I said, we had that run with Pardew a few years ago, like I was just alluding to. And for me, they're mostly disappointing. I remember a young Didier Drogba from Marseille.
I met him after that game.
Yeah.
I went to the game and I went to the pub after the game. In walks Michael Essien and Didier Drogba.
Oh no!
And so I was chatting to them afterwards, saying we're going to stuff you in the away leg, and then they knocked us out. So it's probably my fault. But
don't give them fuel, man. I've learned that from Michael Jordan. You don't fuel professional athletes.
I think the one I do want to mention, I guess, for everyone is like I was a kid watching on TV, but Newcastle beating Barcelona 3-2 was like. That was like the Keegan glory days, entertainers, just everything. Like Keith Gillespie charging down that right wing, just absolutely ruining their left back. And then every ball he put in was like, it was like proper old school winger play, just like dip the shoulder, get past him on the outside, get to the byline, whip it in. And then Faustino Asprilla that night was just like unplayable. And I saw a picture there of the team, and you would never have thought that team was going to go on to beat the mighty Barcelona. But that was certainly, like, from my childhood, that was like a standout one. It just real glory days stuff. That's what we're hoping with, again, as we keep saying, maybe if we don't want to jinx it, but if the takeover happens, to have more nights like that and have nights to like dream and believe, rather than some of the more depressing times we've had of late.
Well, I think Leicester City did an excellent job for fans to redream, because I think as humans we like to have structure. Like I remember when I was growing up, it just used to be the top four. Over the past decade, we've grown to accept this top six. I'm hoping that we can drop this label, or whatever the media keeps labeling whoever are these efficient sides in the Premier League, and just go back to, like, when I tune in, when it hopefully returns on Saturday, when hopefully most of this stuff all passes over and everyone's going to be healthy and safe. Newcastle's playing Arsenal. I don't know how the scoreline's going to be. It could be 7-3 Arsenal. It could be 4-4. Hell, it could be 8-0 Newcastle. You don't know what's going to happen. That's how I would like my football to be enjoyed, because I feel people want to know, like, the ending already. Like, if I pay money to go, to this game, the team that I'm paying for better win, versus, like, you know what? I'm a supporter of this team. Regardless of whatever happens during the 90 minutes, I'm going to enjoy it. And there's no better game that I can think of that summarizes that for you guys than that 0-0, I think, this season between Arsenal and Newcastle, where I heard that you guys had over like 50 people there at the 817. I'm like, for a 0-0 game, that's amazing.
Oh no, I know that was 0-0 at half time. I think you beat us 4-0.
Yeah, they spanked the second half. Yep.
No.
The 0-0 I was talking about was us versus Norwich.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Us versus Norwich was particularly bleak. That was real bad. Like, was that 0-0 at St James's Park? And there was like, was it our first week or our second week in 817?
One of our first games at the new place, 817.
Yeah, made a huge push. There was about 50 or 60 of us there. And there wasn't even a chance really from either team. I can potentially remember one Newcastle chance. And it's funny because we've all been talking in our chat group and things amongst each other, saying I never thought I would miss watching that game. Like, if that was the only game, I'd watch it every day if I could.
I would take it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Well, that's just to show the special moments of the goals. And I think I'll end this with this question for you guys. Is there a particular goal out of these types of goals that you guys would prefer, to see? Like, would you prefer like a a dazzling
Easy.
dribble where like a guy goes through like three guys and
easy.
maybe chips
It's easy.
keeper.
It's the solo mazy runs, bro. No goals are better than that. No goals.
This
long
is where
shot,
you'll
man,
see.
from 30 yards.
This is why you got to ask when we go around about who our favorite players
I
are.
would
So
have a
Rory's
Messi
with his.
goal over Steven Gerrard's goal anytime.
Rory likes a Ben Arfa goal. That's his favorite Newcastle player. So he says Messi dribble. My favorite player for Newcastle recently has been Andy Carroll. So I would love just like a booming beast of a header. So when he
Fair
just
enough,
meets
fair enough.
meets that
A header where
cross and
that's
like
foul.
Andy Carroll's
Someone
first
gets
goal for
injured.
England. Like Andy Carroll's first goal for England was like
Mhm.
cross. He just meets it at the right time, puts it in the bottom corner. I love a booming header where he just like a demolition ball, just going through the box, smashes a defender, buries a header. That's what I'd love to see. First week back, Andy Carroll getting one with his head would be fantastic. So
Yeah, he better be fit too. He's out a lot of
he
time
should
off.
be. I don't know what he's been up to since. Although
What
sounds
about
like I
you,
think he's
Ben?
conceived
Yeah,
with a baby since.
I would actually twist that on its head. So for me, an amazing goal is when, depending on the result at the time. So to me, an amazing goal was when we got that second goal against Everton and we were 2-0 down in the 94th minute, and it was the scrappiest goal ever.
Like the third rebound, was it?
And to me, that was the best goal ever because we took a point from absolutely nothing with like 30 seconds on the clock. So for me, I think obviously
One that means
Screamer's
points.
great. Yeah, one that means points, one that means something from nothing can always be exciting for me. So that would
better,
be my answer.
It could potentially be the winner in the FA Cup final. That would be good. We'd like to see that when we come back as well. I don't care who
Exactly.
scores that one.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna
the other-
batter City next first.
I guess for you, Rory, when we come back, St. Maxim just scored that like glorious goal against whoever
Yeah.
it was in the FA Cup. So maybe you'll see some of your Maisie goals from him.
That's what I'm hoping for from ASM.
Oh man, you guys sound like very hopeful Newcastle fans. Much better than when I met you guys in person during that 0-0 draw.
Better than
But-
those TR Gooners, eh? They're a miserable.
Oh come on, we're not that miserable. Honestly, they're a good fan group, and to be honest, I'm really glad to see that there's different pockets of supported Premier League
course,
teams
of course.
popping up in Toronto. It's good. I hope that all you guys can connect with each other and kind of grieve together with the missing of football. But I hope everyone's enjoyed this as a little bit of entertainment, as you can clearly tell. I'm trying to do a wrap up, so I'll do my usual spiel: like, banner, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And when I say subscribe, I meant subscribe to the Soccerholics channel, but also to, the Toon Army for Toronto, because these guys are amazing in person. And honestly, thanks to technology, I've had the pleasure to talk to you three for like a half an hour through Zoom. So guys, thank you guys so much. Really do appreciate it. And I hope you guys tune in for the next video as well. Cheers guys for watching.
Thank you, Chris.